Do you remember those comforting down-home meals that only Southern grandmas seemed to know how to make? The ones that could turn simple pantry staples into a feast for the family, filling the house with warmth and the smell of love? These recipes, passed quietly from hand to hand, have slowly faded from modern kitchens, replaced by convenience foods and takeout. Today, we're bringing them back, celebrating 30 forgotten Southern classics that prove sometimes the simplest ingredients make the most memorable meals. Fried chicken and gravy. Fried chicken and gravy is the ultimate symbol of Southern comfort, a dish that evokes the smell of sizzling chicken in a hot skillet and the warm, savory aroma of rich, buttery gravy filling the kitchen. This meal was a Sunday table centerpiece in countless rural homes, where families worked hard all week and gathered to celebrate the simple pleasure of food cooked with care. The chicken itself was seasoned generously, sometimes marinated in buttermilk to tenderize the meat, then dredged in flour or cornmeal and fried until golden brown, its skin crisp and crackling with flavor. The pieces were often juicy inside, a testament to both patience and kitchen know-how, while the aroma alone could draw children from the far corners of the house. The magic didn't stop with the chicken. Pan drippings left after frying were the foundation for the gravy, thickened with flour, seasoned with salt and pepper, and sometimes enriched with a splash of milk or cream. The result was a silky, indulgent sauce that married perfectly with the crisp chicken and could be ladled generously over mashed potatoes, biscuits, or even rice. Families often stretched every drop, savoring it slowly and making sure no plate went empty. Fried chicken and gravy wasn't just a meal, it was a ritual. It represented the culmination of a week's work, the comfort of home, and the love poured into every dish by the cook. Even today, it remains a benchmark of Southern cooking, celebrated in restaurants, food festivals, and family kitchens alike. In an era of fast meals and takeout, this dish reminds us that patience, a little elbow grease, and the right touch of seasoning can transform simple ingredients into something unforgettable, nourishing both the body and the soul. Cornbread and milk. Cornbread and milk is the epitome of simple, honest, Southern comfort, a pairing that has graced kitchens for generations. The cornbread, golden and slightly crumbly, was usually made from pantry staples: cornmeal, a touch of flour, eggs, and milk, sometimes sweetened with a little sugar or molasses. Baked in a cast iron skillet, it developed a crisp crust with a tender, warm interior that begged to be broken apart by hand. Poured over with cold, fresh milk, each bite became a satisfying combination of texture and flavor, creamy and hearty without any fuss. This humble dish thrived in Appalachian and rural Southern homes because it was cheap, filling, and quick to prepare. Yet it carried a sense of care and tradition. Children often returned from school to a slice of cornbread and a tall glass of milk, while hardworking adults used it as a side to stretch meals like beans, greens, or stews. It was a dish born of thrift, yet it never felt lacking. Its simplicity was its charm, proving that comfort didn't require extravagance. Cornbread and milk wasn't just food, it was ritual, memory, and sustenance rolled into one. It was served at the table for breakfast, lunch, or supper, and it carried the warmth of kitchens where families gathered, stories were told, and everyone left satisfied. Even today, in an age of artisanal breads and milk alternatives, there's something timeless about this pairing. It reminds us that some of the most comforting meals come from the humblest beginnings, and that the simplest ingredients, handled with care, can nourish both body and heart. Pinto beans with fatback. Pinto beans with fatback is the kind of dish that embodies Southern frugality and flavor, a staple in rural kitchens where every ingredient mattered. Pinto beans, humble and inexpensive, were simmered slowly with thick slab of fatback, the cured, fatty side of pork, releasing rich, smoky drippings that transformed the beans into something deeply savory and satisfying. The process was simple but required patience. Beans soaked overnight, then cooked low and slow until tender, absorbing the pork's flavor, while the kitchen filled with a comforting, mouth-watering aroma that could draw the whole family to the table. Seasoning was straightforward, just a pinch of salt and pepper, but sometimes cooks added onions, garlic, or a splash of vinegar to brighten the flavors. The fatback itself, rendered during cooking, became both the seasoning and the sauce, a reminder that nothing in the kitchen was wasted. The final dish was hearty and filling, perfect for stretching a small amount of meat across a large family dinner, or serving alongside cornbread to soak up every drop of flavorful liquid. Pinto beans with fatback wasn't just sustenance, it was tradition, resilience, and ingenuity in a pot. Generations of Southern families relied on dishes like this to feed hungry hands after long days in the fields or barns, proving that a simple combination of beans and pork could become a meal rich in both taste and memory. Today, with instant meals and frozen dinners dominating many kitchens, pinto beans with fatback remains a testament to the wisdom of slow cooking and the magic of humble ingredients. It's proof that comfort food doesn't need extravagance, just care, patience, and a little bit of pork fat to turn the ordinary into something unforgettable. Collard greens with ham hocks. Collard greens with ham hocks is a quintessential Southern dish, steeped in tradition, flavor, and history. Collard greens, hearty and nutrient-rich, were often grown in backyard gardens or small farms, while ham hocks, cheap, flavorful remnants of cured pork, added depth and richness to the pot. The combination might seem humble, but slow cooked together, they created a dish that was smoky, savory, and deeply comforting, filling kitchens with an aroma that felt like home itself. Preparation was straightforward but required patience and care. Ham hocks were simmered in water or broth to release their flavor, often with onions, garlic, or a dash of vinegar to brighten the taste. Collards were cleaned and added to the pot, cooking slowly until tender. Their natural bitterness softened and balanced by the smoky pork. The result was a luscious, flavorful broth that clung to the greens, perfect for mopping up with cornbread or rice. Every bite carried the legacy of generations who relied on frugal ingredients, cooking with ingenuity and heart. Beyond the taste, this dish carried cultural and emotional weight. Collard greens with ham hocks symbolized family resilience, community gatherings, and the pride of Southern kitchens. It fed children after school, laborers after a long day in the fields, and families on Sundays, connecting each generation through flavor and memory. Today, while convenience and frozen greens dominate many kitchens, collard greens with ham hocks remain a reminder of the patience, skill, and soul behind Southern home cooking. It proves that humble ingredients, handled with care and respect, can yield a dish that nourishes not just the body, but the heart and spirit of everyone at the table. Chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings is the ultimate comfort food of Southern kitchens, a dish that warms the soul as much as it fills the stomach. Born from necessity and ingenuity, it was a staple for families who needed to stretch a single chicken into a meal that could feed a crowd. The chicken was simmered slowly in a rich broth, often with onions, carrots, and celery, until the meat was tender enough to fall from the bones. The dumplings, simple dough of flour, water, and sometimes a touch of fat, were dropped into the bubbling pot, puffing up into soft, pillowy clouds that absorbed the savory chicken broth. Preparation required patience and attention. Every stir, every skim of foam from the top contributed to a perfectly balanced dish. Some cooks added a dash of cream or butter for richness, while others relied purely on the flavor of the chicken and vegetables. The dumplings could be thick or thin, hearty or delicate, but they always carried the comforting taste of home. Families would gather around the table, spooning the steaming mixture into bowls, savoring the combination of tender chicken, soft dumplings, and flavorful broth. Beyond nourishment, chicken and dumplings carried emotional weight. It was a dish for Sunday dinners, for cold winter evenings, for feeding hungry hands after a day of hard labor. It symbolized the heart of Southern home cooking, practical, frugal, yet infinitely satisfying. Today, while instant meals and frozen dumplings abound, chicken and dumplings remains a benchmark of culinary patience and tradition. It's proof that a humble bird, a little flour, and a lot of care can produce a meal that transcends generations, leaving an enduring mark on both memory and taste buds. Fried green tomatoes. Fried green tomatoes are a Southern classic that balances tangy, firm, tart slices of unripe tomatoes with a crisp, golden coating that practically shouts comfort food. In many rural kitchens, these tomatoes came from late summer harvests, picked before the first frost, and transformed with ingenuity into a snack, side dish, or even a simple supper. Each slice was dusted in seasoned cornmeal or flour, sometimes with a pinch of salt and pepper, then fried in hot oil until the exterior was crunchy and slightly caramelized, while the inside remained juicy and bright with flavor. The preparation was deceptively simple but required timing and care. Too little oil or heat, and the coating would sog. Too hot, and the slices would burn before softening inside. Served hot from the skillet, often alongside a dollop of cream gravy or a sprinkling of sugar depending on family preference, fried green tomatoes were both humble and indulgent. They were often a treat for children and adults alike, a way to stretch produce while creating a dish that felt special and celebratory. Fried green tomatoes were more than a vegetable. They were a symbol of Southern resourcefulness, turning something overlooked into a dish worth remembering. Families gathered around the table, savoring the crunch, the tang, and the flavor, sharing stories as much as bites. Today, while trendy versions appear on upscale menus with artisanal sauces, the heart of fried green tomatoes remains rooted in practicality, taste, and nostalgia. They remind us that sometimes the most memorable dishes come from the simplest ingredients, handled with care and a little love, preserving the flavors and spirit of Southern kitchens from generations past. Sawmill gravy and biscuits. Sawmill gravy and biscuits is a Southern kitchen classic, a dish that turns humble ingredients into a rich, comforting meal. Born from practicality and thrift, sawmill gravy was traditionally made from the drippings left over from frying bacon or sausage, thickened with flour and milk into a creamy, pepper-speckled sauce. Biscuits, fluffy, golden, and buttery, were split open and smothered with the gravy, soaking up every last drop. It was a dish that could stretch a few simple ingredients into a breakfast or dinner that filled the belly and warmed the soul. The preparation was straightforward but demanded attention. Rendering the fat correctly, gradually whisking in flour to avoid lumps, and slowly adding milk to achieve the perfect creamy consistency were key steps. The biscuits, either homemade or from a family recipe passed down through generations, provided the perfect vehicle for the gravy, offering a soft, tender bite that contrasted beautifully with the savory sauce. A crack of black pepper or a dash of salt was often enough to elevate the flavors to something indulgent despite the simplicity of the ingredients. Sawmill gravy and biscuits was more than a meal, it was a tradition. Families gathered around the table, stretching a small breakfast into a moment of togetherness, sharing conversation, laughter, and the warmth of a home-cooked dish. It was proof that frugality could coexist with flavor and satisfaction. Even today, in an era dominated by instant breakfasts and pre-packaged meals, sawmill gravy and biscuits remain a testament to Southern ingenuity and comfort. The dish reminds us that the most memorable meals often arise from humble beginnings, simple ingredients, and a little culinary know-how handed down through generations. Cabbage and salt pork stew. Cabbage and salt pork stew is a humble Southern and Appalachian classic, born from kitchens where every ingredient needed to pull its weight. The dish pairs hearty, fibrous cabbage with salty, flavorful pork, often preserved from a prior butchering or left over from other meals. The slow simmering process allowed the flavors to meld, softening the cabbage while rendering the pork into a rich, savory broth that became the heart of the stew. It was the kind of meal that filled bellies after a long day in the fields, warming hands and hearts alike. Preparation was practical yet satisfying. The salt pork was diced and gently cooked first, releasing its fat to coat the bottom of the pot, which infused the stew with smoky, savory notes. Chopped cabbage was added along with water or broth, then simmered until tender, occasionally seasoned with a touch of pepper or herbs if available. Some cooks added onions, potatoes, or carrots to stretch the dish further, creating a stew that was as hearty as it was frugal. Every pot told a story of resourcefulness, turning simple ingredients into sustenance that could feed a family and then some. Cabbage and salt pork stew carried emotional weight beyond its flavor. It was a dish that connected generations, a reminder of home gardens, smokehouses, and the care that went into providing for loved ones. Families would gather around the table, savoring the combination of soft cabbage and savory pork, often accompanied by cornbread to mop up the flavorful broth. Today, convenience foods and fast meals have replaced much of this hands-on cooking, yet cabbage and salt pork stew endures in memory in occasional kitchens. It stands as a testament to frugality, ingenuity, and the deep comfort of a well-loved, slow-cooked meal made with what was on hand and a lot of care. Soup bone stew. Soup bone stew is the epitome of frugal ingenuity in Southern and Appalachian kitchens, a dish that turns leftover bones and scraps into a deeply flavorful, nourishing meal. The soup bones, often from ham, pork, or beef, were simmered slowly for hours, releasing collagen, fat, and rich meatiness into the broth. Vegetables like onions, carrots, potatoes, and cabbage were added to stretch the dish, creating a stew that was both hearty and comforting. In homes where every ingredient mattered, nothing went to waste, and this humble stew could feed a family with little expense. Preparation was simple but required patience. Bones were boiled to extract every ounce of flavor, sometimes parboiled first to remove excess salt or impurities. Once a deep, savory stock formed, chopped vegetables and occasional seasonings like salt, pepper, or a dash of vinegar were added. The slow simmer allowed flavors to meld, producing tender vegetables and a rich, golden broth that could be served over rice, with cornbread, or simply enjoyed in bowls ladled hot from the pot. Each spoonful carried a smoky, meaty aroma that made even the simplest meal feel celebratory. Soup bone stew was more than sustenance. It was tradition, ingenuity, and family resilience in a pot. Generations of Southern cooks relied on dishes like this to nourish hungry bodies after long workdays, while also teaching the next generation the art of stretching ingredients and coaxing flavor from the humblest beginnings. Even in today's world of pre-packaged soup and fast meals, soup bone stew remains a testament to patience, resourcefulness, and comfort. It's a reminder that true flavor often comes from care, time, and a willingness to turn what others might discard into something warm, nourishing, and unforgettable. Fried apple fritters. Fried apple fritters are a sweet, nostalgic treat that evoke the warmth of Southern kitchens on crisp autumn mornings or during holiday gatherings. They were born from necessity and creativity, taking simple pantry staples, flour, eggs, sugar, and a splash of milk, and combining them with tart apples, often sliced or chopped from backyard orchards. The batter-coated apple pieces were dropped into hot oil, frying until golden brown and crisp on the outside while tender and juicy on the inside. The aroma alone could draw children from the far corners of the house, promising a warm, indulgent bite of home-cooked goodness. Preparation was straightforward but required careful timing to achieve the perfect fritter. Too low a temperature and the fritters would absorb oil and become greasy. Too high and the exterior would burn before the apple softened. Many cooks dusted the finished fritters with sugar or cinnamon sugar, while others drizzled them with a simple glaze or served them alongside a scoop of cream for an extra touch of indulgence. Despite being a humble dessert or snack, each fritter carried a depth of flavor and a sense of occasion. Fried apple fritters were more than a sweet bite. They were a ritual, a way families came together, and a way grandmas shared love through food. They symbolized resourcefulness, taking what was on hand and turning it into a dish that felt celebratory. Today, while pastries and desserts are often store-bought or overly elaborate, fried apple fritters remind us that simplicity, patience, and a little hands-on effort can yield a dish that's timeless, comforting, and utterly satisfying. It's a treat that carries both flavor and memory, a true taste of Southern home cooking from generations past. Hog maw and potatoes. Hog maw and potatoes is a hearty, no-nonsense Southern dish, one that reflects the resourcefulness and frugality of rural kitchens. Hog maw, the cleaned, salted stomach of a hog, was stuffed with a simple mixture of diced potatoes, onions, and seasonings, then baked or simmered until tender. The potatoes absorbed the savory, porky flavor, while the hog maw itself became a rich, flavorful casing that held the mixture together, creating a meal that was filling, economical, and deeply satisfying. In many homes, this dish was a way to stretch a single hog into multiple meals, ensuring nothing went to waste. Preparation required care. The hog maw had to be thoroughly cleaned and often soaked to remove excess salt before cooking. The potatoes and onions were diced evenly to cook at the same rate, and seasonings, salt, pepper, sometimes a dash of sage, were simple but essential to bring out the best flavors. The dish was baked slowly or simmered, allowing the flavors to meld and the texture to develop. Tender, slightly chewy hog maw enveloping soft, savory potatoes. Families would gather around the table, breaking apart slices with knives or hands, savoring every bite of this humble but hearty meal. Hog maw and potatoes carried more than flavor. It carried history, tradition, and ingenuity. It was a dish for feeding large families, a product of resourcefulness, and a reminder that Southern cooking often turned overlooked cuts of meat into treasured meals. Even today, hog maw and potatoes is a testament to practicality and taste. While modern kitchens may lean toward convenience, this dish reminds us that patience, care, and respect for ingredients, no matter how humble, can create something nourishing, memorable, and deeply rooted in home-cooked tradition. Neckbone soup. Neckbone soup is a quintessential Southern comfort dish born from frugality and the desire to turn humble ingredients into something deeply satisfying. Pork or beef neck bones, often overlooked cuts from the butchering process, were simmered slowly in water to release their rich, meaty flavor. The broth became the foundation for a hearty soup, enhanced with vegetables like onions, carrots, potatoes, and sometimes cabbage, creating a warm, nourishing meal that could feed a family for days. The slow simmering drew out the marrow, fat, and flavor, producing a broth that was both savory and comforting, carrying the essence of home cooking in every spoonful. Preparation required patience and a touch of skill. The neck bones were often parboiled to remove excess salt or impurities, then returned to the pot with fresh water and seasonings. Vegetables were added according to availability and taste, and the soup was left to simmer until the meat was tender and the broth infused with the smoky, rich flavor of the bones. The result was a rustic, hearty soup, often served with cornbread or biscuits to soak up every drop. Neckbone soup was more than sustenance. It was tradition, resourcefulness, and a reflection of Southern ingenuity. Families gathered around the table, savoring the meaty broth and tender vegetables, while learning the art of stretching a modest cut of meat into something truly nourishing. Even in today's era of pre-packaged soups and fast meals, neckbone soup remains a testament to slow cooking, patience, and flavor. It reminds us that some of the most comforting and memorable meals come from humble ingredients, prepared with care and shared with family, carrying both warmth and heritage in every bowl. Cornmeal mush with syrup or gravy. Cornmeal mush with syrup or gravy is a staple of Southern and Appalachian kitchens, a dish that exemplifies simplicity, frugality, and comfort. Cornmeal, a humble pantry ingredient, was mixed with water or milk and cooked into a thick, creamy porridge. Once firm enough to slice, it was fried until golden and slightly crisp on the outside while remaining soft and tender inside. Served hot, it could be drizzled with sweet syrup for breakfast or smothered in savory gravy for a heartier meal, making it a versatile dish that satisfied both sweet and savory cravings. Preparation was straightforward but required attention to texture. The cornmeal had to be stirred constantly while cooking to prevent lumps, and once poured into a pan to set, the slices needed gentle frying to achieve a lightly crisp exterior without breaking apart. Sweet or savory toppings elevated this modest dish. Molasses, cane syrup, or brown sugar added warmth and richness, while sausage or pan gravy turned it into a filling, savory comfort food. Families often used cornmeal mush as a way to stretch meals and keep hungry mouths fed on a budget. Cornmeal mush carried more than sustenance. It carried memory and tradition. It was a breakfast staple for children before school, a quick supper for laborers after a long day, and a versatile side at family tables. Its simplicity allowed cooks to improvise and adapt to what was on hand, proving that comfort and satisfaction didn't require luxury. Even today, while breakfast trends lean toward fancy pastries or instant meals, Cornmeal mush with syrup or gravy remains a reminder that humble ingredients, patience, and care can produce something nourishing, comforting, and deeply rooted in home-cooked tradition. It's a dish that embodies both practicality and soul. Fatback and collards. Fatback and collards is a quintessential Southern dish, embodying the heart of home cooking where frugality met flavor. Collard greens, hearty and nutrient-rich, were often grown in backyard gardens, while fatback, the cured, fatty side of pork, added deep, smoky richness to the pot. Simmered slowly together, the fat rendered into a savory broth, infusing the greens with flavor while softening their natural bitterness. This simple combination, humble in ingredients, became a filling, satisfying meal that nourished both body and soul, particularly for families working long days in fields or factories. Preparation required patience and an eye for balance. The fatback was diced and gently rendered to release its flavorful fat, while onions, garlic, or a splash of vinegar might be added to elevate the greens. The collards were then simmered until tender, absorbing the smoky, salty essence of the pork. Served hot, often with cornbread to sop up the juices, the dish was as much about warmth and sustenance as it was about flavor. Each bite carried a comforting, familiar taste, linking generations through shared family recipes and cooking techniques. Fatback and collards was more than just a meal. It was a tradition. It represented resourcefulness, a respect for ingredients, and the Southern way of turning humble components into something extraordinary. Families gathered around the table, savoring the hearty, flavorful greens, while conversations and laughter filled the kitchen, cementing memories alongside the meal. Even today, while modern conveniences dominate many kitchens, fatback and collards stands as a testament to patience, skill, and heritage. It reminds us that some of the most memorable and satisfying meals come from simple, carefully prepared ingredients, carrying both history and comfort in every forkful. Pork and beans, bake with molasses. Pork and beans baked with molasses is a hearty, old-fashioned Southern dish that combines humble pantry staples into a meal full of flavor and history. Dried beans, often navy or pinto, were soaked overnight and simmered slowly until tender, then layered or baked with bits of salt pork for richness and molasses for a deep caramel-like sweetness. The molasses balanced the savory pork and earthy beans, turning a simple collection of ingredients into a comforting, filling casserole that could feed a family for days. It was a dish born out of thrift, ingenuity, and the desire to stretch ingredients without sacrificing taste. Preparation was simple yet deliberate. Beans were cooked to tenderness, the pork rendered to release its smoky flavor, and the mixture was combined with a generous splash of molasses and sometimes a touch of mustard or brown sugar for complexity. Baked slowly, the flavors melded into a thick, sticky, savory, sweet consistency, perfect for serving alongside cornbread or as a standalone meal. It was a dish that thrived in kitchens where resources were limited, but care and creativity were abundant. Beyond its practicality, pork and beans baked with molasses carried a sense of tradition and comfort. Families relied on it during busy work weeks, for church socials, or after long days in the fields. It was a dish that embodied Southern ingenuity, turning simple ingredients into something deeply satisfying and memorable. Even today, in an era of quick-cook meals and canned convenience foods, pork and beans, baked with molasses reminds us of the flavor, heart, and patience embedded in old-school home cooking. It's proof that humble ingredients, when handled with care and imagination, can create a dish that nourishes both body and soul while carrying the taste of history. Sweet potato hash with sausage. Sweet potato hash with sausage is a classic Southern comfort dish, a combination of sweet, earthy tubers and savory, smoky pork that warms both the stomach and the heart. Sweet potatoes, often roasted or boiled and then diced, were sautéed with bits of sausage in a cast iron skillet, allowing the natural sweetness to mingle with the rich spiced flavor of the meat. Onions, bell peppers, or a pinch of seasonings were sometimes added to elevate the dish, creating a hearty, colorful meal that could be served for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It was a practical, frugal dish, perfect for using what was on hand while still feeling indulgent. Preparation required patience and care. The sweet potatoes needed to be cooked until tender but still hold their shape, while the sausage was browned to release its flavorful fat. Everything was combined in the skillet and sautéed just long enough for the flavors to meld, achieving a balance of sweetness, saltiness, and spice. Families would often serve the hash alongside eggs, biscuits, or cornbread, turning it into a complete, satisfying meal that could feed a crowd without much fuss. Sweet potato hash with sausage was more than just a filling dish. It was a reflection of Southern ingenuity, family traditions, and the resourcefulness of home cooks. It carried memories of early mornings, late suppers, and the aroma of a kitchen where every ingredient had purpose and every meal was made with care. Even in today's world of quick breakfasts and meal kits, sweet potato hash with sausage remains a testament to the flavor and heart of home cooking. It reminds us that simple, humble ingredients, thoughtfully combined, can produce a dish that nourishes both body and memory, a true taste of Southern culinary heritage. Venison gravy over biscuits. Venison gravy over biscuits is a hearty Southern and Appalachian favorite, born from the practicality of rural kitchens and the bounty of the hunt. Leftover venison, often from a family hunt, was shredded or chopped and simmered in a simple roux-based gravy made with pan drippings, flour, and milk or broth. The result was a rich, savory sauce with deep, gamey undertones that paired perfectly with fluffy, buttery biscuits. This dish was a way to stretch meat, turn a small harvest into a filling meal, and infuse the table with the comforting aroma of home cooking. Preparation was straightforward but required attention to texture and seasoning. The venison was often simmered slowly to tenderize it and absorb the flavors of the gravy. The roux needed careful whisking to prevent lumps, while milk or broth was gradually added to create a creamy, velvety consistency. Biscuits, either freshly baked or leftover from earlier in the day, were split open and smothered in the savory gravy, soaking up every last drop. Each bite offered a satisfying mix of soft bread and rich, flavorful sauce. Venison gravy over biscuits was more than sustenance. It carried stories of family hunts, home kitchens, and traditions passed down through generations. It fed hungry hands after long days in the fields or woods, providing comfort, warmth, and a connection to the land. Even today, while convenience foods dominate many kitchens, this dish reminds us that resourcefulness and care can transform humble ingredients into a memorable, soul-satisfying meal. Venison gravy over biscuits is a testament to Southern ingenuity. Chicken and rice bake, busy day chicken. Chicken and rice bake, affectionately known as busy day chicken, is a Southern household staple that perfectly embodies practicality, comfort, and frugality. This dish was a go-to for families who needed a wholesome, filling meal without spending hours in the kitchen. A whole chicken or leftover pieces were combined with rice, onions, and sometimes a few root vegetables, then baked in a single pan with a flavorful broth or simple cream sauce. As it cooked, the rice absorbed the savory juices, while the chicken became tender and infused with rich, comforting flavor. A one-dish meal that satisfied hungry mouths with minimal effort. Preparation was deceptively simple, yet relied on timing and layering for maximum flavor. Chicken pieces were seasoned and lightly browned before combining with rice, vegetables, and liquid, then baked slowly to allow the rice to swell and absorb the savory broth. The finished dish offered a satisfying combination of tender meat, fluffy or slightly creamy rice, and aromatic vegetables, all melded together into a comforting, cohesive meal. Leftovers often tasted even better the next day, making it a practical solution for busy households. Chicken and rice bake carried more than just flavor. It carried a sense of care, efficiency, and homey nostalgia. It was a meal that fed families quickly after long workdays, school afternoons, or chores on the farm, demonstrating that convenience didn't have to come at the expense of taste or warmth. Even today, while ready-made meals and instant dishes dominate, Busy Day chicken reminds us that one-pot thoughtfully assembled meals remain timeless. It's a dish that honors resourcefulness, tradition, and the comforting power of home-cooked food, delivering both flavor and the familiar warmth of family kitchens across generations. Souped-up ramen. Mountain noodles. Souped-up ramen, affectionately called mountain noodles, is a testament to Southern ingenuity and the ability to stretch humble ingredients into a filling, flavorful meal. What began as a simple, inexpensive pack of instant noodles transformed in kitchens where creativity met necessity. Cooks added whatever was on hand, leftover vegetables, bits of meat, or a splash of broth, to enrich the broth and make the dish more substantial. The result was a steaming bowl of noodles that was warm, hearty, and far more satisfying than its original minimalist inspiration. Preparation was quick and practical, perfectly suited for busy households. Noodles were boiled until tender, then simmered with vegetables like cabbage, onions, or root vegetables, and enriched with meat scraps, canned meats, or even eggs. Seasonings from the instant packet were often complemented with salt, pepper, or herbs, and sometimes a splash of milk or cream to create a richer, creamier broth. Each bite offered the comforting chew of noodles mingled with the savory, sometimes slightly smoky flavors of improvised ingredients. A meal that felt special despite its simplicity. Mountain noodles carried more than just flavor. It carried the story of resourcefulness and creativity in homes where frugality was a necessity. Children, teenagers, and adults alike could enjoy a hot, filling meal without extensive preparation, often gathering around the table to share bowls and conversation. Even today, in an era dominated by pre-packaged convenience foods, souped-up ramen remains a reminder that imagination, care, and a few extra ingredients can elevate the most humble food into a nourishing, memorable meal. It's a dish that celebrates resourcefulness, comfort, and the inventive spirit of home cooking in Southern kitchens past and present. Cottage cheese casserole with broth. Cottage cheese casserole with broth is a humble Southern dish that perfectly exemplifies frugality and creativity in home cooking. Simple ingredients: cottage cheese, leftover bread or rice, a few seasonings, and a light broth come together to form a warm, comforting casserole that nourishes both body and soul. The cottage cheese adds creaminess and protein, while the broth ensures the casserole remains moist and flavorful, transforming otherwise plain pantry items into a satisfying meal. This dish was often a go-to for families looking to stretch ingredients without sacrificing heartiness, proving that comfort doesn't have to come at a high cost. Preparation was straightforward but required thoughtful assembly. Bread or rice provided a base layered with cottage cheese and lightly seasoned with salt, pepper, or herbs. The broth was poured over the mixture to infuse moisture and flavor, and the casserole was baked until it set, creating a tender, cohesive dish. Variations might include adding onions, leftover vegetables, or a touch of butter to enrich the flavors. But even the simplest version delivered warmth and sustenance for hungry family members. Cottage cheese casserole with broth carried more than just taste. It carried a legacy of resourcefulness and homey comfort. Families would gather around the table, enjoying a dish that was simple yet nourishing, a product of both necessity and love. It was a meal that reflected the ingenuity of cooks who could transform modest ingredients into something memorable and filling. Even in modern kitchens dominated by convenience meals, this casserole remains a reminder that simple, thoughtfully combined ingredients can create something satisfying, comforting, and timeless. It's a testament to the enduring power of home cooking and the quiet creativity that defined generations of Southern cooks. Fried corn pone. Fried corn pone is a classic Southern staple, a humble dish that turns simple cornmeal into crispy, golden perfection. Traditionally made from a mixture of cornmeal, water, or milk, and a pinch of salt, the dough was shaped into small patties and fried in a hot skillet until the exterior became crisp while the interior stayed tender and slightly chewy. This frugal dish was a way to make a few pantry staples feel hearty and satisfying, often served alongside beans, greens, or a morning plate of eggs for a quick, filling meal. Its simplicity belied the comfort it brought, warming kitchens and hearts alike. Preparation required a bit of care. The cornmeal had to be mixed to the right consistency, not too thick, not too runny, so the pones would hold their shape during frying. Cooking in rendered fat or bacon drippings added a savory depth, giving each patty a rich, smoky flavor that made even the plainest ingredients shine. Some families sweetened theirs slightly with a touch of sugar or molasses, while others preferred the purely savory version. The result was a versatile dish that could be adapted for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, proving that humble ingredients could stretch a meal without sacrificing flavor. Fried corn pone carried more than sustenance. It carried tradition, ingenuity, and a connection to the kitchens of Southern grandmothers who understood how to make the most of what they had. Generations grew up on the crispy, comforting patties, often sharing them hot from the skillet, breaking apart pieces with their hands and savoring the warm, golden goodness. Even today, in an era of store-bought bread and convenience foods, fried corn pone stands as a testament to the simplicity, flavor, and heart of home cooking. It reminds us that the most memorable dishes often come from humble beginnings, crafted with care, patience, and love. Tater cakes, leftover mashed potato patties. Tater cakes, or leftover mashed potato patties, are a shining example of Southern ingenuity and frugality in the kitchen. What began as leftover mashed potatoes, sometimes from Sunday dinner or holiday meals, was transformed into golden, crispy patties that made the second meal feel just as special as the first. Seasoned with a pinch of salt, pepper, and occasionally onions or herbs, the mixture was shaped into small rounds and fried in a hot skillet, often in bacon drippings or butter, until the exterior became delightfully crisp while the inside remained soft and creamy. It was comfort food born from practicality, turning yesterday's leftovers into today's indulgence. Preparation was simple yet required attention to texture. Too soft and the cakes would fall apart in the skillet. Too dry and they would be dense rather than fluffy. Many cooks added a little flour, egg, or breadcrumbs to help bind the patties, ensuring they held together during frying. Served hot, tater cakes could accompany eggs for breakfast, a slice of ham for lunch, or even stand alone as a snack, proving their versatility and practicality. Tater cakes were more than just a way to reuse leftovers. They carried the warmth of family kitchens and the creativity of home cooks who knew that nothing should go to waste. Each crispy bite brought a sense of nostalgia, recalling the smell of breakfast sizzling on the stove and the simple pleasure of a lovingly prepared meal. Even today, when convenience foods abound, tater cakes remind us that resourcefulness and care can elevate humble ingredients into something comforting and memorable. They are a testament to the timeless appeal of Southern home cooking, where every morsel counts and every meal carries both flavor and family tradition. Fried bologna and egg sandwiches. Fried bologna and egg sandwiches are a classic blue-collar comfort food, a dish that perfectly blends simplicity, heartiness, and nostalgia. Thin slices of bologna, often the inexpensive lunch meat of choice, were fried until slightly crisp and caramelized around the edges, while eggs, scrambled or fried, added protein and richness. Piled between slices of buttered white bread, sometimes lightly toasted on the skillet with the meat and eggs, the sandwich became a filling, portable meal for breakfast, lunch, or even a quick dinner after a long day. It was a practical solution for hungry families who needed something satisfying without complicated preparation. Preparation was straightforward but depended on timing. The bologna was fried first to render a little fat and add flavor. Then the eggs cooked in the same skillet, absorbing some of the smoky, savory essence. Salt and pepper were often the only seasonings needed, and a slice of cheese or a dab of ketchup could be added to elevate the sandwich. The result was a warm, hearty bite with layers of flavor and texture. Crispy, salty bologna, soft, rich eggs, and tender bread holding it all together. Fried bologna and egg sandwiches were more than just a meal. They carried memories of early mornings, kitchen conversations, and the resourcefulness of home cooks who could turn simple ingredients into comfort. Generations grew up on these sandwiches, savoring them hot from the skillet and appreciating their satisfying simplicity. Even today, in an era of gourmet sandwiches and pre-packaged breakfasts, fried bologna and egg sandwiches remind us that humble ingredients, thoughtfully prepared, can create a dish that is both comforting and timeless. It's a small, flavorful testament to practicality, nostalgia, and the enduring appeal of home-cooked meals. Hoover stew. Hoover stew is a humble, frugal dish that earned its name during the Great Depression, reflecting both necessity and ingenuity in tough times. Originally served in school cafeterias and community kitchens, it was made from whatever inexpensive, shelf-stable ingredients were available: macaroni or other pasta, canned tomatoes, hot dogs or inexpensive meat, and sometimes a few vegetables. Everything was combined in a large pot and simmered until tender, creating a thick, filling stew that could feed many hungry mouths at minimal cost. It wasn't fancy, but it was nourishing, practical, and emblematic of an era when resourcefulness in the kitchen was a survival skill. Preparation was simple but designed for efficiency. Pasta was cooked directly in the tomato broth along with sliced hot dogs or chopped meat, absorbing flavor as it simmered. Onions, canned beans, or other pantry items could be added to stretch the dish and add nutrition. Seasonings were often minimal: salt, pepper, and perhaps a splash of ketchup or molasses. But the end result was hearty, filling, and satisfying. Hoover stew was a dish that made a little go a long way, turning inexpensive ingredients into a meal that brought warmth and sustenance to the table. Hoover stew carried more than just calories. It carried the spirit of resilience and community. In homes and schools, it fed children and families alike, demonstrating that thoughtful preparation and careful use of resources could create something comforting even in lean times. Even today, while contemporary kitchens offer convenience foods and meal kits, Hoover stew reminds us of the ingenuity and practicality of past generations. It's a dish that embodies frugality, resourcefulness, and the comforting taste of a meal made with care, stretching ingredients into something both nourishing and memorable. Beans and fried fatback. Beans and fried fatback is a cornerstone of Southern home cooking, a dish that exemplifies frugality, flavor, and the ingenuity of rural kitchens. Simple dried beans, pinto, navy, or black-eyed peas, were soaked overnight and simmered slowly until tender, while slices of fatback, the cured, fatty side of pork, were fried to render their rich, smoky fat. The beans were then cooked in this flavorful drippings, absorbing the smoky, savory essence of the pork and transforming humble legumes into a hearty, satisfying meal. Often served with cornbread or biscuits, this dish provided protein, fiber, and warmth, making it a staple for families on a budget. Preparation was straightforward but required a watchful eye. Fatback was carefully rendered to avoid burning, releasing flavorful fat that would season the beans as they simmered. Onion, garlic, or a dash of vinegar could be added to enhance the taste, while long, slow cooking ensured the beans absorbed the rich pork flavor fully. The result was a comforting, savory dish, with creamy beans punctuated by tender, slightly crisp morsels of fatback, a simple yet deeply satisfying combination. Beans and fried fatback was more than a meal. It was a testament to resourcefulness in Southern tradition. Families relied on it to stretch modest ingredients into something filling and flavorful, turning everyday staples into a dish that felt special at the table. It carried with it memories of family dinners, kitchen conversation, and the unmistakable aroma of fatback sizzling in a skillet. Even today, while modern convenience foods dominate, beans and fried fatback reminds us that simple, well-prepared ingredients can create dishes that nourish both body and memory. It stands as a testament to Southern ingenuity, comfort, and the enduring flavor of home-cooked meals. Liver and onions. Liver and onions is a classic Southern and blue-collar dish that combines bold flavor with frugality, turning an inexpensive cut of meat into a satisfying, nutrient-rich meal. Slices of beef, pork, or calf's liver were seasoned and pan-fried until slightly crisp on the edges, while retaining a tender, rich interior. Thinly sliced onions were caramelized in the same skillet, their natural sweetness balancing the earthy, sometimes metallic tang of the liver. Served together, often with mashed potatoes or bread to soak up the pan juices, this dish became a hearty, affordable staple on many family tables. Preparation required attention and timing. The liver needed careful handling to prevent toughness, while the onions had to be slowly sautéed to develop their deep, sweet flavor. Some cooks added a touch of vinegar or milk to the liver before frying to mellow its intensity, creating a harmonious blend of savory and slightly sweet elements. The resulting plate was a mix of textures: tender, flavorful meat, soft caramelized onions, and starchy sides that absorbed every bit of flavor. Liver and onions carried more than just nourishment. It carried tradition and practicality. Families leaned on it as a cost-effective way to provide protein-rich meals, often serving it on Sundays or special occasions when the table needed a bit more substance without breaking the budget. The dish was as much about family connection and homey comfort as it was about flavor. Even today, despite its reputation as a polarizing dish, liver and onions reminds us of the ingenuity and resourcefulness of past generations. It stands as a testament to turning humble, often overlooked ingredients into a dish that's rich in flavor, history, and the comforting essence of home-cooked meals. Slaw top burgers. Slaw top burgers are a Southern diner classic, a uniquely regional twist on the traditional hamburger that combines savory beef with tangy, crunchy coleslaw. Ground beef patties were seasoned simply and grilled or fried until juicy and flavorful, then crowned with a generous scoop of creamy, vinegary cabbage slaw right on top, hence the name. The slaw added a refreshing crunch and a slightly sweet, tangy contrast to the rich, savory meat, turning an ordinary burger into a satisfying, multi-textured meal. Served on soft buns with optional pickles or mustard, slaw top burgers were perfect for a quick lunch, a casual supper, or a roadside diner indulgence. Preparation was straightforward yet relied on the balance of flavors. The beef needed to be seasoned and cooked just right to retain its juiciness, while the coleslaw, often cabbage, carrot, and onion tossed in a simple mayonnaise or vinegar dressing, provided the bright, crisp counterpoint. The combination of hot, savory patty with cool, tangy slaw created a harmony that was as flavorful as it was comforting, making it a beloved local specialty. Slaw top burgers carried more than just taste. They carried memories of small-town diners, summer afternoons, and the simple joy of a meal made with care. Families and friends would gather, enjoying the messy, hands-on nature of the burger, sharing stories as much as bites. It was a dish that embodied Southern resourcefulness and the inventive spirit of regional cuisine. Even today, while gourmet burgers dominate menus, slaw top burgers remind us that sometimes the simplest ideas, juicy beef, fresh slaw, and a soft bun, create the most memorable meals. They stand as a testament to flavor, practicality, and the enduring charm of down-home cooking. Grits with cheese and onions. Grits with cheese and onions is a quintessential Southern comfort dish, simple yet deeply satisfying, and a true testament to frugality meeting flavor. Stone ground or quick cooking grits were simmered slowly in water or milk until creamy, then enriched with sharp or mild cheese and lightly sautéed onions for depth and sweetness. The result was a dish that was warm, hearty, and full of contrasting textures. The smooth, creamy grits paired with the savory, slightly crisp onions and the melty, rich cheese. It was a versatile staple, perfect for breakfast, lunch, or as a side to a main dish like fried chicken or pork chops. Preparation was straightforward but required patience to achieve the ideal creaminess. The grits had to be stirred carefully to prevent clumping and to ensure a silky consistency. Onions were often caramelized gently in butter or bacon drippings to release their natural sweetness, then folded into the grits along with shredded or cubed cheese. Seasonings were minimal: salt, pepper, and perhaps a dash of hot sauce or paprika, but each bite delivered a comforting balance of savory and creamy. Grits with cheese and onions carried more than just flavor. It carried the story of Southern kitchens where resourcefulness and care transformed modest pantry staples into meals that felt abundant and nourishing. Generations grew up savoring bowls of this dish, often served alongside eggs, greens, or biscuits, and learning that simple ingredients, thoughtfully combined, could produce lasting comfort. Even today, while instant grits and boxed convenience meals are common, grits with cheese and onions reminds us that traditional home-cooked preparations hold a depth of flavor and heart that convenience can't replicate. It's a dish that celebrates both heritage and the enduring magic of Southern cooking. Ham and potato casserole. Ham and potato casserole is a classic Southern comfort food, a dish born from practicality and the desire to stretch leftovers into something hearty and satisfying. Tender chunks of leftover ham were combined with thinly sliced or cubed potatoes, layered with onions, and often topped with a simple cheese sauce or cream, then baked until golden and bubbling. This casserole transformed humble ingredients into a warm, filling meal that could feed a family without fuss, offering both flavor and nourishment in every bite. It was a perfect solution for busy households, Sunday dinners, or post-holiday meals when leftover ham needed a second life. Preparation required layering and timing to achieve the right balance. Potatoes were sometimes parboiled or soaked to ensure even cooking, while the ham provided salty, savory depth throughout the dish. Cheese or cream added richness, while seasonings like black pepper, paprika, or a touch of mustard brought out the flavors without overwhelming the simple ingredients. As it baked, the potatoes softened, the cheese melted into a creamy blanket, and the ham infused the entire casserole with its smoky, meaty essence, creating a dish that was as comforting as it was practical. Ham and potato casserole carried more than just sustenance. It carried the warmth of family kitchens and the ingenuity of cooks who could turn leftovers into a meal that felt like a celebration. Children and adults alike savored its creamy, hearty texture, often paired with a simple side of greens or cornbread. Even today, when convenience foods and meal kits dominate, ham and potato casserole reminds us that thoughtful layering of basic ingredients can produce a dish that is both nourishing and timeless. It's a testament to resourcefulness, tradition, and the comforting power of home-cooked meals passed down through generations. Squirrel stew. Squirrel stew is a rustic Southern and Appalachian classic, a dish born from necessity, ingenuity, and a deep connection to the land. In rural households, squirrels were often hunted for food, providing a lean, protein-rich meat that could be transformed into a hearty, nourishing stew. The meat was carefully skinned, cleaned, and cut into pieces before being simmered slowly with onions, root vegetables, and seasonings in a rich broth until tender. The result was a flavorful, comforting stew that filled kitchens with the aroma of home-cooked goodness and stretched modest ingredients into a satisfying meal for the whole family. Preparation was simple in concept but required care. The meat needed to be cooked slowly to prevent toughness, allowing the flavors of onions, carrots, potatoes, and sometimes tomatoes or herbs to meld with the natural gaminess of the squirrel. A thickening agent, often flour or cornstarch, could be added to give the stew a comforting body, while salt, pepper, and a dash of spices enhance the rustic flavors. Served hot, often with cornbread or biscuits, the stew was both filling and flavorful, embodying the resourcefulness of Southern kitchens. Squirrel stew carried more than sustenance. It carried tradition and the lessons of self-reliance. Families gathered around the table, sharing a meal made from the land and appreciating the care and effort that turned a humble game animal into a hearty, memorable dinner. It was a dish that represented survival, ingenuity, and the comforting tastes of home. Even today, while modern meats dominate grocery shelves, squirrel stew reminds us of a time when cooks made the most of what was available, turning humble ingredients into something nourishing and satisfying. It's a dish that celebrates heritage, resourcefulness, and the enduring soul of Southern home cooking. And there you have it, 30 forgotten down-home meals that only Southern grandmas could make with love, patience, and a touch of magic. From crispy fried delights to hearty stews and casseroles, these dishes remind us that comfort and flavor often come from the simplest ingredients and the warmest kitchens. If these recipes brought a little nostalgia to your day, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can keep discovering the meals that shaped generations. And tell us in the comments, which of these Southern classics would you want on your own table today?